This is Michael Popok with Legal AF with some breaking news as a follow-up to the House Ways and Means Committee voting to release Donald Trump's tax returns. Everybody may think those tax returns have already been released to the public, but that will happen just after Christmas. What everybody's been reporting about and all the tea leaves that's been divined and interpreted has only been about the summaries that the House Ways and Means Committee put in their executive summary report, giving highlights of the areas where the IRS hollowed out, corrupted, co-opted, and captured by Donald Trump through the Treasury Secretary at the time, Steve Mnuchin, all the areas that they ignored, all of the red flags that they did not follow up with, all of the resources that they did not put in place, and pointed out some highlights about a $79 million tax refund, a series of questionable deductions, including about a conservation easement over land that he took worth millions of dollars, which is also the subject of Letitia James's New York Attorney General civil fraud case for $250 million. That's still in his tax returns. So all anybody's been doing, whether it's on the Midas Media Network, Ben Meiselas, myself, and others, have been doing is reporting about these, 50 pages of sort of summary. But the actual holy grail and holy you-know-what of Donald Trump's 6 years of personal and business tax returns, which is for 7 different entities, including his personal trust, the one that's the subject of the Florida lawsuit, which has now been dismissed and will be subject to sanctions by Judge Middlebrooks in Florida. All of that entire Pandora's box, that is coming out after Christmas, which means not just legal commentators and analytics like Ben and me, but and Karen Friedman-Agnifilo, my co-anchor on the midweek edition of Legal AF, but tax lawyers, tax accountants, IRS agents, CPAs, members of the legislature, in Congress, who are on House and Means Committee, who are on the Joint Committee for Taxation, who know the tax code like the back of their hands. They're going to be getting their eyes on this, and their pens and their computers and all of their other analytics and formulas and programs to crack this code that Donald Trump has used to avoid paying taxes in 11 out of 18 of the last years. How do we know some of this already? Because the New York Times did some. Well, at the time it was well known, and at the time it was well publicized, but people forgot that in 2020, based on getting their hands as good investigative journalists under the First Amendment from a informant, in this case Mary Trump, now of podcast fame and Midas Media Network fame, but at one point she was just the niece of Donald Trump, and she had a lot of these tax returns in her possession because of her suit that she had against Donald Trump, the trust, her uncle, her late father, and all of that. She took this and put a red ribbon around it and gave it to the reporters, and also was interviewed by the New York Times. They were able in 2020 to report, and you can find it online, about the fact that Donald Trump didn't pay taxes in 11 out of 18 years, that he had a huge refund coming back to him, that he took questionable donations, unsubstantiated donations, deductions for charitable donations, all of that, and more, gifts to his children masquerading as loans so that he could take a deduction and they could take a deduction, all of the really sleazy, unscrupulous tax code breaking that we expected Donald Trump to do was reported on in 2020 by the New York Times in the middle of the pandemic. But now, we could have do-it-yourself sleuths. This could be a whole cottage industry of people crowdsourcing and crowdfunding online these tax returns. And, for the person that has the software program that can crunch the numbers and spit out potential all of the red flags, I'm sure there'll be a lot of fame and fortune for that particular person. But until then, we'll have to wait for the actual release, which, as I'm reporting, has now been announced by the House Ways and Means Committee and the Joint Committee on Taxation to be just after Christmas, maybe the 27th, but certainly before the new year. One of the things they're doing, apparently, is carefully redacting with a black marker or masking tape or otherwise some personal information, Donald Trump's Social Security number, although that would be fun to have. Donald Trump's, some of his addresses, some of his other, personal data of him and others are being redacted. But everything else is going to be revealed in the disclosure of these tax returns. And it's, like I said, it's going to be a cottage industry of sleuths who are going to get to the bottom, and we'll start reporting it just the way the Meidas Media Network is reporting whatever we can get our hands on from the Jan 6 committee and its transcripts. We'll do the same thing as things get revealed and we're able to get through it. Understanding, though, managing expectations here a bit, that these are supremely complicated and complex tax returns, some of them going on 400, 500 pages in length for one tax return, and schedules and the like, and cross-reference to other bogus charities of his or trusts of his and other things. So it's going to take a while. It's going to take a minute to get through all of that information. But I want to put it on everybody's radar. Looks like December 27th for the full reveal of all those documents. We'll get our hands on them as quickly as possible. We'll need help and assistance. The same assistance and resources that the IRS turned a blind eye to, didn't bother with a hiring to assist them, we're going to have to do in order to get to the bottom of it, and we'll start reporting on it. So Michael Popok from Legal AF reporting on the actual deadline, due date, line in the sand by the House Ways and Means Committee to finally release all of the tax returns. All the ones we've been talking about for 3 days will finally be disclosed to the American public in their entirety, save for a couple of small personal data issues that will be removed by the 27th of December.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.